Hi, hey, hello. I am Jeremy, and I'm here with
Zabi?
and we are back with Novel Connections. Would you love this book like I do? And we're continuing our final installment of our review and rating of The Midnight Plan of the Repo Man by W. Bruce Cameron.
Narrated by George K. Wilson.
Yes, because we have an audiobook listener.
That's
Would you say that's superior?
Superior?
To read the actual book?
I mean, maybe. It depends. It depends on the
it's
scenario.
It's definitely a person by person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
But I do get reading. I understand why people read over audiobooks.
Yes. Okay, good. Well, I
Good.
I have read the book, you have listened to the book, and we have finished the book.
Yes.
And we're ready to go over the last chapters of the intensity. If this book didn't have action before, it definitely has it at the end of the book.
Yeah, it escalated. So you're going to do another 2-minute...
I'm going to do another 2-minute thing.
Ramble over the last chapters that we covered and all the main events in those chapters. And you were so close last time.
Yeah, so this is from chapter 23 to 31 and an epilogue.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm better ready than never, the saying.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Chapter 23, Katie, Me, and Her Dad. This is where Katie invited Ruddy over, and they got real hot and heavy and made Alan super paranoid, and he had to back off. And he stayed the night. Nothing really happened. Then, after Alan told him that having the daughter was the best thing ever, the next chapter, 24, Too Subtle for Me, he wakes up and he goes to get Jimmy, and he brings Jimmy to the Blanchard, Alice's house to see his daughter. And man, that was intense. Let me see here. When he gets back, he finds out from Becky that the card swipe thing was a sex line after all. Chapter 25, those psychic people are crazy. Ruddy calls the line and starts getting all uppity, and then he finds out that Mr. Drake is in charge, and that he kind of confronts him and says, you're going to pay me the money for everything that's missing. And he says, no, I'm going to go up to see you personally, this and that. And he asks for the money. And then Becky says that Kermit loves him, and then he gets mad and he goes to fight Einstein Croft. Hold on, shit. What's the important
30
part?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Wait, remaining, or that was 30 seconds?
Remaining.
Total? Okay, yes. So he goes and remaining. What? Then no, there's no way I could do that. No. Last time I had mini synopsis. Yeah, then I'm done. Anyways.
Was that one chapter?
That was 3, okay?
That was 3 chapters.
Anyways,
out of what, 11, 10, something
yeah, give me 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes?
Yeah, these are big chapters.
I'll give you one more minute.
Oh my gosh. After I finish 2 more chapters, then give me 1 more minute.
And go.
He went to see Katie. Then the sheriff called him, and kind of Katie vouched for him because someone had been killed inside Ruddy's living room. He got scared, thought it was Jimmy. Chapter 26, Free and Clear. He goes to the home to try to identify who the body was. It was a large tattooed man who got shot through the window. It wasn't Jimmy.
30 seconds.
And Ruddy tells to check the ballistics against this guy that Drake might have hired, or that it might be Drake, against the bullet that was out of Alan Lautner. And then he tells him straight up, I had a dream that they were killed by these guys, by Wexler and stuff. Chapter 27, a meeting with the sheriff. Pretty much he finds out that a lot of people have alibis and stuff. Yeah, I mean, this is a lot. It's a lot. We should not have done this again. I feel like I'm not doing a good job.
I'm going to beat your ass when I have to do this for the books we're reading. I'm just putting it out there.
Okay, you do that without any prep. How about that? You do the 2-minute breakdown with no prep. And that was,
yes.
Because the last time I had prep. This time I don't have prep. You can't. Oh, yes. So after the guy got killed, they sent all the money to Becky and Kermit, and then Kermit proposed to her, and Ruddy was like, what? That's crazy. And then he was about to start talking shit, but then Alan was like, just say congratulations and that's it. Yes. And so that's what he did. And then he eventually felt all these ways, and he finally told Becky that he loved her, or just was able to say it. Oh, and then he got a call from Strickland to go meet up at the place where they found Alan's body. And it turns out it was a trap made by Nathan Burby and Franklin Wexler. They both had rifles. Chapter 28, Fear of Drowning. He started trying to talk his way out of it, and they ended up hitting him, and they ended up getting fighting. And they put him into the water, and they started drowning him. And Alan was scared of the water, but then he realized that they were both drowning, and Alan stepped in. He said, "Go to sleep, Ruddy. It makes sense now." And he got drowned, and he says goodbye to Ruddy, and Alan is dead this time. Chapter 29, No Time Left on the Clock. Ruddy wakes up in the back of the van. He turns out he wasn't dead, but he feels alone for the first time in like a long time. He jumps out of the vehicle because Nathan and Franklin were taking him somewhere. He runs to see where Becky's at, and he finds her, but then they're there already because they drove and he had to run. They duct tape them to chairs. They pour gasoline. They have gasoline and dynamite, and it turns out that Nathan was the one who set the firebomb to the old folks' home, while Franklin was in Vegas having an alibi. They have like a few minutes, and then Ruddy's struggling as hard as possible. He can't do it, but Kermit comes in and quote unquote saves the day. He couldn't cut them out of the duct tape, but he runs with the dynamite out. Ruddy was able to tell him to throw it in the dumpster, but everything explodes, and that he didn't make it to the dumpster. And yeah, that's the end of that chapter, where there's like a piece of wall going onto that stabbed Becky, and he tells her that she was wrong about Kermit. Chapter 30, Have You ID'd the Body in the Alley? Ruddy wakes up. They find him. They find Becky. They're okay. And, okay is up. Like, they stopped the bleeding. They took her to the hospital. When Strickland asks, who did this, he kind of tells who did it. But then he's also like, check the alley for the body. It should be Kermit. And then they say that Kermit actually jumped himself in the dumpster and then left the dynamite. So, again, he didn't listen to the plan. Then the ambulance that was supposed to take Ruddy to the hospital gets diverted for something, and he has Jimmy take him. But that was just a plan to go to Katie, because he knows it was Katie. And then he saw that it was midnight, and this was the next chapter, 31, The Midnight Plan of the Repo Man. This is the ending. This is the ending here, where he goes to the trailer. He sees that Frank, the man with the shovel, is there, and that Nathan's there. That they're like confronting Katie about like what Ruddy told her about everything. He goes down in the stealth mode for the tow truck. He attaches it to the trailer because he knows he needs to buy himself like some time, because he can't just confront two guys with rifles. He ties it up. He sets it he spools out the tow cable. He sets it going. Eventually, it pulls the cable as he confronts them. And with the conversation and the confrontation, it turns out that the wife and what's his name, Nathan, that they planned to kill him, and that they planned to like not tell Franklin about that the time he was going to show up, because it ruins Franklin's alibi that they never met each other. There's a huge fight. Well, actually, Franklin just shoots Nathan in the head. It's because he finds out that he was tricked by him. Then Ruddy jumps at him when the trailer gets pulled, and he gets shot in the arm. They have this scuffle. It turns out that the trailer got pulled all the way into the river. Ruddy gets caught underneath, but he sees that Franklin's going to get out, so he drowns him, but it like keeps him trapped underneath. Katie dives in. She's able to give him some life-saving breaths and pulls the truck off of him. And then happily ever after, quote, for the epilogue, it's Ruddy trying to talk to Alan, at his little memorial plaque. And he's saying that it's been a year, that the married life suits Becky, that he plans to marry his daughter. The end. Well, I definitely couldn't have done that in a few minutes.
So my notes for these chapters were they fuck, JK, someone gets shot in the house, they date, Black Bear, money stuff. What did he tell them? and then it just cuts as they drive back. So I like loved all the craziness, and I thought it wrapped up nicely, and it didn't wrap up nicely. Like, it was conclusive. However, you only knew the conclusion of the situations like to the extent that a fucking average person would, which isn't satisfactory to me as a reader, because like there was no follow-up on like the dude who got shot. Like, they sent money, right, to the Black Bear because they assumed that it was actually Ruddy who had shot the phone guy that they were having money issues with in his house while he was sneaking in. But it's like, that was it, and I wanted more.
No, they just stopped sending business, and then they stopped. They're like, "Here's money, leave us alone. You shot my guy."
God. So that was kind of like, okay, whatever. And then the other thing was like, it's funny because it was such a simple solution, but it was like the factory thing is just like, this guy, was involved with the factory, and there was like money transactions, and they were just using each other as like alibis to go do shit while they were, messing stuff up. So it's like, there wasn't anything incredibly complicated. There was also no follow-up on like the magic-esque stuff that does happen in the series. Like, there was nothing said about why it was ready. Like, I still don't know why it was ready.
So, yes, a few things. It was cut because he found his ring all that time ago, and then the storm stirred his body, and his body had to go somewhere. Or like his spirit, right? It's because he was in the shallow grave, so it stirred his spirit, and that spirit went to Ruddy. How or why, not sure, but that's kind of what happened. During the storm, it stirred his body, and his connection to anyone else was just Ruddy, and then it attached to that.
But why not, like, family?
And then, why not family?
Yeah.
He didn't have anything about the family on him, probably.
I don't know. I think it's...
Yes, I mean, the story has to happen, so these are the things that happen. It doesn't leave me
wanting, but I'm like, it's like, I want more.
You want like a cookie cutter explanation? This is why this.
Yeah, a little bit.
You want them to spell it out?
Well, that was the same thing with the ending, because like, I loved the ending, but also when it ended was when they're literally driving back, and fucking both guys have been killed, right? Mm-hmm. And he's got the girl. And they're like, all right, now we, should probably go get checked out or make sure everybody's okay or, like, go tell the cops or something what happened. And that's where it ends. Like, there's a whole bunch of conflict and, like, relationship dealing with, like, nonsense stuff that's, like, about to happen. And we just don't get any of that. And I was like, damn it. Not that I think it would necessarily be better if it went through all of that and then had a conclusion. But it was like... I want to know what happened, when they, I don't know, we're talking to law enforcement or whatever else.
Strictly. I mean, Ruddy didn't kill anyone.
Yeah.
No,
I know.
Franklin shot Nathan, and the only one, and then the wife who was complicit or even an accomplice, they couldn't prove anything. So then it said that relationship between Katie and her was strained. Like, she hasn't talked to her since.
Yeah,
so.
But does Strickland believe him now? Like, did he walk up and just be like, "Hey, so the killers, like, they're both dead and they're over at Katie's house." Like, what was his reaction? Like, did he go over there and believe? Like,
between Katie and the mom, I'm sure the mom was like, "I don't know, they just shot it." Like, who is she gonna protect besides herself at that point? So she's gonna have to say what they said. So,
or
are
then it would have been friends. Like, I just want to know.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
And that whole section where he's just like in and out of like consciousness / like near-death experiences / like trying to get away from these guys, it was like it felt nuts.
The intensity was there.
Intensity was there for sure on that section. And then the kid thing, him going over and find Jimmy, seeing his daughter and playing with her and stuff like that. Like, that was nicer. I was okay with that. That was a decent interaction. I knew when the little girl like ran in the house that she was coming back out. Like, I totally knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah, she was want to see pictures of me.
Yeah.
And then she just showed him a bunch of pictures.
Yeah.
And they describe him just as just sitting there like amazed.
Yeah, that was super cute. I liked that a
Another,
lot.
I guess, conclusion that didn't really have anything was Albert Einstein Croft,
Yeah,
where since the dad died,
and
he
he
had a life insurance
destroyed his
policy that paid
freaking
off the
truck.
truck, and then Reddy goes to kind of give him
Oh my
that, like, the
god, that was
paperwork, like,
so
hey,
funny.
it's yours. But Albert Einstein Croft, he burnt it down, so it was just crisp, like burnt to a crisp on cinders.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, "Well, it's
Hysterical.
all yours. I'm not trying to get it anymore." That was so funny.
Yeah. Well, and then Wilma and
Wilma and Claude.
Claude, there was no resolution with that either. Like we literally like
They just
never
got
see
back
them again.
together and they
But
stopped.
you
Yeah.
don't know that.
They said they were smiling and together and that there was amnesty between them and this and that. But yeah. But why they stopped with the clause or whatever, I don't know. There wasn't, I'm sure there was some legal thing behind it,
Yeah.
but also Jimmy getting mad at Claude probably helped stir him in the right way.
Yeah, I imagine. I would hope.
But yeah,
No, but it was that was a good it was a really good book. I like Katie a lot more. I think the fact that she went in and like saved him from drowning and like how she did it and that whole like the way it took place and like fucking taking the tow truck to like hook it and pull the shit off of him. I thought that was super creative. And like a really like good thinking on your feet sort of like problem solving in a way that like I didn't see that coming
Yeah.
when she started
Not
doing
even
that.
Reddy saw it coming. He was just like, okay. Like, he was literally at peace with drowning right then and there.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
crazy. But yeah,
So-
explain what Katie did then. Because also it makes Katie not just a dumb character. She's like quick on her feet. She's,
Yeah.
I thought
Well,
that
I mean,
was, it's
she
hard
got-
to,
She got tied up in everything immediately in like 2 seconds from knowing like nothing to being like what the literal shit my mom was in on getting my dad killed so she could run away with this guy and these guys have been in charge of like other fucking murders and stuff and Ruddy's coming in here like trying to like make sure they don't kill me or I don't know, they're trying to kill Ruddy. She just got like thrown in the fucking middle of it. And then I don't even know how like there was no illustration as to what happened when her and her mom like went into the house and Ruddy was out there with a dead guy and a guy that was like flying in the trailer into the water with him. So I don't even know like if they were just like yeet, we're not gonna
no, so he was fighting with Frank after he got shot. He was fighting with him, and it got pulled off the block.
Yeah.
And then it
And
started
then they're
going, and
going
he
in the
told
water.
them to leave, so that they got out at that point.
Yeah,
And
but then
it
like,
pulled-
cause she comes back to go save Reddy, and she jumps in
Yes.
the water and like gives him oxygen while
what
he's
is
like.
the mom doing that whole time?
Yeah, I was like,
they don't
I have
say.
no idea. I have no like. How did she get away from the mom? Like, what did she just like? Did the mom?
I
do
don't
nothing?
think the mom could have like. The mom probably was just freaking out that what's
The
his
mom's
name
like,
just got shot in the head.
Too many people here at the same time. I'm shutting down. And then the daughter's like, I don't trust anyone, but I know I don't want Reddy to die, so I'm gonna go make sure he doesn't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess from their point of view, they jumped out when Frank was shooting people, so they had to get out, right? And then it pulls, it hits the tow truck, goes past, and it tumbles over because it rode a few times, and that's why the frame of the trailer was
Yeah.
weighing them down. And so they probably just watched all of it. It's like watching a car crash, right? Like you're captivated for the extent of whatever happens. And then when no one got up out of the water, they probably then ran down to the edge, and then Katie was the one who actually dove in.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the mom, because the mom I don't think was there when they got out, so I imagine she didn't come down. But yeah, I just wanted to know what happened when they were going back to normalcy. Like, oh my god. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all just the paperwork side of it. No one wants to hear that in the story.
I like organized things, okay? I like it when I know what's going on. I can relate with Katie in that sense. I do. I have grown more fond of Katie.
That's good. And how did you feel about Kermit popping in and nearly sacrificing himself? Well, for all
It was
intents
like,
and purposes,
all right,
he
good.
sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
Right?
He just
But
managed to stay alive in the
but he just
process.
fucked it up in a different way. Luckily, they didn't blow up, right? It blow up and burn to death.
Yeah.
But he still got her hurt. So in my eyes, he only like 90% saved the day.
I think he totally stepped up, and I absolutely respect him for that.
Yeah.
Does that make me like him anymore as a character? Not really.
Same.
But I just have more respect for him as like a human being doing things. I'm like, cool, yeah, you're acceptable. You can function. But I still just don't really care for him as a character.
Yeah. I mean, he's Becky's husband now.
I don't envy Ruddy.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's I thought that was like I think I knew the story, right? So reading it the second time and remembering that it was Kermit and like going through that again, I was like, oh yeah, I was so captivated in the moment that I forgot he just hides in the dumpster, that he messes up Rudy's instructions yet again, and just like he dropped the dynamite and then jumped in the dumpster himself. So he was fine, but because of that, Becky was still hurt, and then that was a close call. But yeah, so overall, if you could rate this story, right, based off of everything, the entirety of the book, the totality, if you will.
See, I'm easy to please most of the time. So this would be where it's difficult for me, because most books that I read, if I enjoy it, I would say it gets like 5 stars. You're like, oh
just
yeah,
straight
this
to
is
5
great.
stars.
This is fantastic. I love it. I'd read it again. If I'm being much more like strict and like trying to compare it to the books that I love the most, then it's really this genre isn't my favorite genre. I like more like high key fantasy shit that has more romance in it.
And more supernatural.
More romance,
just
more
everything.
supernatural, more like So I would say probably rating this like a 4.5.
So I think it definitely stands on its own, and because of that, and there's like, you didn't know what a Repo Man was before this book, so it's also like the angle of the Repo Man and like certain things, and just being in a very secluded area of Michigan. I was way off. If you ask Michigan people and Wisconsin people, I was definitely way off. Anyone else, they're like, hey, close enough. But no, in Michigan, yeah. So the setting was unique to me. The story was unique. The themes and elements were unique. But the interpersonal relationships, I feel, were very what's the word? Relatable. So it was enough to keep you to keep it grounded and to keep you invested.
It was incredibly grounded. I think it was honestly one of the more like grounded texts I have read or listened to, technically.
So maybe that was that definitely plays it, right? Because if you listen to high key fantasy or real fantastical things, is this one of like the more grounded books you've ever read? Or I'm sure you've read like,
well, so in the fiction department, because I've read plenty of like nonfiction, but when it comes to fiction, I have read other things that are not fantastical at all, and been able to appreciate them, but it's not something I've ever gone out of my way to read. So I think that's part of the reason it's not my favorite book, but I would absolutely read this again because I enjoyed it so much.
And you would even be up to reading Repo Madness, the next book?
Yeah, I'd probably read Repo Madness.
Nice. See? Okay. So, yes, I definitely give this book... It's kind of hard to say, because if I love this book, you would think it's a 5 out of 5. I mean, it's hard to not be 5 out of 5 for me, but I know there's so many other books that are different for me, right? Like, so if they're a sci-fi genre, this and that. But for this type of book and this type of style, amateur sleuth with subtle mystery or subtle supernatural that I haven't seen anywhere, it definitely stands alone and stands apart from a lot of other books. So I would say for the book itself, it's definitely a 5 out of 5. Compared to other books that I enjoy, it could be maybe the 4.5. So we agree it's not below a 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, for sure.
this book had some of that romance. It had action and intensity and like a thrilling element to it, right? You were like, oh, is he gonna make it in time? Oh no, what are they gonna do? It's certain people accepting like fates that get subverted, right? So it's definitely definitely it definitely kept me involved. And for me to like a book and to keep reading a book, it has to catch me. And this bit me early on, and I was like, snake bit way early on, and I just kept going with it, right? So I just tore through this book. What would you say?
I would be fine with giving it a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we can adjust it if we read more and be like, you know what, maybe it wasn't a 5. But no, I think I would be fine
I do
with
like
this,
giving it a 5. I just feel it's weird that we give like the first book I pick up a 5 out of 5.
It's a good book. I mean,
it is okay.
We're
Okay,
reading
so
books that literally are good enough to keep both of us engaged.
yes.
You're super picky about books. I
Super
have
picky.
literally no attention for things that are too boring. So
Oh man, the one time we find books that we don't like, but one person does like, that's gonna be.
that would be a lot.
That's
I
gonna
mean,
be a lot.
honestly, that could be Harry Potter. If you've never read Harry Potter,
I've
that
never
could be
read
Harry Potter.
Yeah, I'm a bad nerd, guys. Sorry to hear it. Sorry you had to hear it here. But we're not going to do Harry Potter for a while. We have some other book selections. So, okay. So, yeah. Then let's say 5. I love it. And I'm glad you love it.
5 stars.
It was such a point of contention just because it's such a unique book. Like, that's definitely why I like it. And why I have it and own it and love it. Is because it's a unique and it stands alone. But I guess that's also why it's hard to rate and compare, right? We're not trying to compare it, but if you were to compare it, it would be, it's kind of like which genre does it fit in? Because it can't really fit in fantasy, but it has like a foothold somewhere into it, and it is a fiction in general. So, but yeah, we have our first book down so we have our Goodreads.
We have our
first book.
Goodreads novel connection shelf that will have all of our recommendations, star rated with notes alongside them. For your reference, it will be posted down in the description of the podcast in general, as well as noted on our Instagram page.
Yes, so definitely stay tuned.
Alright, so for the next book we're gonna hopefully get into and chew and devour like the monsters of literature that we are becoming, is American Gods. This is the last book that I actually read the paperback version of, like I read the physical version of instead of listening to, and I ripped through it pretty fast. It has a lot of like crazy characters that I really loved. Apparently there's a TV show on it. I've never seen the TV show. I don't think we're going to be talking about the TV show at all.
I'm not going to be talking about the TV show.
However,
I'm sure there's people who've talked about the TV show, but we're talking about the book.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite books. And I think it fits well with The Midnight Plan and the Repo Man, just because it has that sort of grungy like feel, and I feel like the protagonist,
and it is modern, right? Like it's like
it is modern
times as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the protagonist in that one also has some similarities to Ruddy. So when we pick that up, I think it'll feel not entirely foreign. So
awesome.
I'm excited,
okay.
and I hope you love the book like I do.
Well, I'm glad you love this book like I do. So if we keep the trend going, I should. But we don't know until we read, don't we?
Alright, catch you on the flip side, and we'll hang out again soon.
Very soon.